Anyone else get like made fun of for watching anime growing up? And is anybody else experiencing a little bit of whiplash with how popular anime's become? And especially seeing some of the like coolest and most talented people in the world express their love for the medium. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not a hater. I absolutely love it, and I love how popular it's become. I think it is the best thing possible for the future of all weebs out there. But I've been watching the Olympics this year, and I've been taken aback at how powerful the cultural influence of anime really is. So in between watching skateboarding and breakdancing, I took some time to really research and detail how anime went from being a nerd thing to something that's really cool here in the West. Because here in the US, anime's journey from being on the fringes to becoming something that's popular and even mainstream has been remarkable. The first anime that aired in the US was actually in 1961, and it was two shows produced by our good friends at Toei Animation. Two shows I've never watched called Magic Boy and The White Snake Enchantress. And in the 1980s, Nickelodeon kinda hopped on the bandwagon and featured some animation from Japan. And American networks would often take liberties and release edited versions of Japanese animation to their audiences here in the US. Like, just as an example, in 1984, Miyazaki's Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind released on HBO as Warriors of the Wind. And it was a mainstay during the mid-1980s. But the edits on that version upset Miyazaki so much that he insisted that all future American releases were completely unedited. And even though in the 80s anime never really took hold in the form of series, this is when a lot of really popular and influential movies were released. And we're talking about big hitters, like this is Akira, Kiki's Delivery Service, My Neighbor Totoro, and even though they didn't get like widespread popularity with the public at the time, they received critical acclaim. And their cult following led to networks trying anime in a different way in the 90s. In the 90s and early 2000s, shows that started airing like Sailor Moon or Dragon Ball or One Piece really started getting huge followings in the United States and internationally. And that's when I started my journey, unfortunately watching the 4Kids version of One Piece. And it wasn't long after that until Toonami became a staple on my family's TV. But for me, besides my one cousin who watched Inuyasha, or the one kid from school that I trade Pokemon cards with, mentioning anime was just like a surefire way to get ostracized. And honestly, I kind of understood it. Like, I know the kids doing the Naruto runs between our periods at class weren't doing me any favors. And especially as a kid who grew up playing sports, especially in super like traditionally masculine environments, mentioning anime was kind of a no-no in my life. But time skip forward to today, and anime has like a multi-billion-dollar industry around it, and it's not just mainstream, it's super popular across the board with older people and kids. And you can see the growth in popularity not just because professional athletes and rappers are talking about how much they love anime, but because services like Netflix or Crunchyroll are really investing in the future of this media. But still, like I said, culturally, the best place to see this popularity, to me, is in professional sport. Because if you've been watching the 2024 Paris Olympics, you know that these athletes are wearing their love for anime on their sleeve. There have been so many references to anime, like way more than I can account for just in a little video. And I'm going to talk about a few of them here, but I don't want to read any comments about how much I'm butchering these people's names. I'm trying. I know. I'm not an international studies person. I'm trying. There have been so many references to One Piece, and specifically Luffy, like the Greek long jumper Miltiades Tantaglu. I know I just butchered that. But also the Italian race walker Massimo Stano, the US shot putter Peyton Oderdahl. One of my favorite athletes from the Olympics, the American sprinter Noah Lyles, hit the Kamehameha after his win and even got a shout out from Toei about that, which is just so cool. The French fencing team did the same thing after they won bronze. And I mean, it even looks like the Olympic organizers are in on it. They very fittingly played the Haikyuu theme song during the men's volleyball warm-up. And they played Dragon Ball's Ultra Instinct theme before the men's 400-meter relay.
And this is where a lot of ways to put this together. America.
And these moments really mean more than just the joy they're bringing the cross-section of Olympic and anime fans. And when I started seeing this come out, I was hyped. And if you've seen my video about hip-hop and anime, you know that this is something like the cultural relevance of anime is something that I'm really interested in. But here at the 2024 Olympics, the question has really lingered with me. why is this happening? Why has the world of sports been such a strong cultural breakthrough for the world of anime? Well, to me, and I think a lot of anime fans, it's because anime is more than just entertainment. For people who love anime and manga, it's not just TV shows and books. The impact that these series have literally shape our identities. Anime's themes of perseverance, friendship, and overcoming obstacles resonate deeply with audiences. And unsurprisingly, and maybe to the highest degree, includes athletes. Anime teaches values that are universal. So it's no surprise that athletes who often embody these exact values are drawn to anime. And I think athletes' love for anime is pretty widespread. Like, I think it was Zion Williamson who said, like, 80% of all NBA players are into anime. And if you've watched that hip hop video, you know that Myles Garrett is like one of my favorite athletes of all time. He was the person who got me to watch Hunter x Hunter the first time. And his entire interview with Pat McAfee, which I'll put in again here, explaining to him, what Dragon Ball is, it's just awesome. It's so funny.
Collectibles? Is that what we got going on here?
Yeah, I got a little collection.
Oh, yeah, Goku's in there, right? I think there's not a lot of...
Well, fortunately, I mean, you're seeing the little stuff. I have a huge mural to my right, which you would, I think you'd appreciate.
And honestly, anime is really just the latest hit for sports. Because as much as people might say otherwise, sports has always been a stage for cultural and political expression. Whether it's the connection between music or art and sports, or athletes using their platform to make a political statement, the inclusion of anime references is kind of like the next logical step of this trend. And not just because anime shows stories that are set in the world of sports so well. Some of the best regarded anime in the world are sports anime that are about so much more than the sport the show's actually about. Like Haikyuu or Yuri on Ice, these shows are about the relationships off the field as much as they're about what happens on them. And just because I can, I want to plug 3 sports anime that I don't think get nearly enough love. Hinomaru Sumo is an absurd, like truly absurd show about a really short kid who's hell-bent on being the best sumo wrestler in all of Japan. And not just for their relationships, which are incredible, but the way they like interweave superpowers in kind of this weird natural way, but then they're all high schoolers. It's so funny. It's so entertaining. It's super gripping. Again, both on and off the field, the relationships are the driver of this show. Tamayomi is about a high school softball team, and this is a show that really exemplifies how the relationships of sports anime work. Because of the team nature of softball, you have a lot of different characters, and you really get to dig into their relationships both on and off the field. And ultimately, this is a show about some plucky upstart underdogs, and that's something that I think everyone can get behind, whether you like baseball or not. And the last one is the Gymnastics Samurai, and fittingly, this is about a former Olympian who's kind of over the hill and thinks that he's at the end of his career after suffering an injury, and him struggling with his place in life, and then his decision to have another go at it and not end his career. And super heart-wrenching, and his relationship with his daughter is one of the best relationships in all of anime. All right, I'm done plugging my favorite anime, but seriously, there are so many great sports anime out there, and it's always been interesting to me that the anime that athletes really seem to love actually don't have anything to do with sports. Like, I think besides Haikyuu at the Olympics, there weren't really any sports anime references. It's a lot of Dragon Ball, it's a lot of One Piece, and you see that both in the Olympics and everywhere else. I think it's like Julian Brandt from BVB, Dortmund, the soccer team, has done a lot of One Piece. I think he does Trafalgar Law when he scores. Just awesome celebration, in my opinion. And like I mentioned, Myles Garrett, Hunter x Hunter, a huge following of Dragon Ball in the NFL. And I think it comes back to the value of anime. And that's why these athletes are drawn to specifically shonen anime. Because a lot of the trends in shonen anime are about like an underdog who through their will and determination is able to overcome some insurmountable foe. And that makes sense, right? Like if you've ever met a professional athlete or you know one, not only are they insanely talented, like they're usually incredibly naturally gifted, but they all also are some of the hardest working people in the world. So it's no surprise that shows that have main characters who show discipline, the ability to train, the ability to work their ass off for their goal resonates. Whether it's watching like the training that Goku goes through, or Luffy's resilience and ability to always stand back up and fight, That's kind of the core of what makes these athletes great. And these Olympics have been an awesome platform to see how much these athletes love anime, especially for athletes that don't compete in like the NBA or the NFL or, you know, in one of the large European soccer leagues. It's allowed these athletes that don't usually have the international limelight to turn anime from their personal passion into a public celebration. And these anime expressions of cultural affinity don't just endear these athletes to their new and their old fans. Specifically, it highlights the influence that anime has had on these people who are the best in the world at their craft. Anime's presence at the 2024 Olympics is a testament to its cultural impact across the globe right now. Because by embracing anime so publicly, these athletes aren't just, you know, celebrating one of their favorite mediums. They're making anime cool. Like, I know, anime has always been cool, and it's really been growing its own cultural cachet the last decade or so. But no one is living in the world where they're the only kid who loves One Piece at their school anymore. And if for some reason they are, they have dozens and dozens of these incredible athletes to point to who also share this love. And I don't know if we're like reclaiming the word weeb yet, but as athletes are really proudly showing their love for anime, in a way they're standing up for everyone who got made fun of for their favorite show being One Piece or Dragon Ball. And they're acknowledging that anime can be a cultural force that unites people across the world. And maybe after everything these athletes have done, we'll finally get some Olympic themed anime that I never knew that I wanted until this year. Thanks so much for watching. As always, my crazy noon robots, I've had a hell of a week. Just, I'll spare you all the details, but suffice to say that I haven't been able to turn the lights on in my house for a week. So I didn't think that I was going to be able to get this video out, but here it is. You're watching it. You're watching all the way here. But because I haven't had power this week, I wasn't able to watch the Olympics in the way that I wanted to. I really love the Olympics. It's so much fun. Not just because you get to see crazy sports you never otherwise would have seen. Like, did you watch the breakdancing? That's fucking crazy. The Australia Ray Gun. Shout out to Ray Gun. But it's just such good like watching to have on in the background. It's great background noise, and you learn so much about the world and people. And ultimately, I think anyone who's traveled or knows people from around the world, like, we know one thing, and that's that people are the same. Like, we look different, we listen to different music, you know, we have different foods, we speak different languages, whatever. Ultimately, we're all the same. And that's what's so great about the Olympics to me, is that you realize that we're all just the same. I mean, those people are crazy. Those people are the craziest people in the whole world. Best, like I said, best at their craft. But ultimately, there's so much respect and love there between the fans and between the athletes and their support staff. Like, I don't know. I love it. That the Olympics make me emotional. And sports do in general. Like, I think that there's such a crazy unifying power of sport, and it's so important for us to have, you know, accessible sports systems, because I think that it's really good for child development, for building communities. Anyone who knows me in real life knows that this is something I talk about a lot. It's got a big part of my heart. So seeing anime become a part of that, and become showcased in that way, oh, it's been awesome. You know, this past week, social media, watching everything, like the ones that I've missed that I haven't been able to see live, and kind of watching it all trickle out has just been awesome. So I hope you got to watch some Olympics, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. And I hope sport, like it's interesting because I've always straddled being, like, growing up, I was very, very athletic, played sports, and also a huge nerd, and I loved anime. I, you know, played video games constantly. I was putting hundreds and hundreds of hours into, you know, Pokemon Emerald growing up. Driving to and from soccer practice or tournaments. And athletes, growing up, I know things have changed, but like being in the athletic spaces, people were negative about nerds, and being in nerdy spaces, people were negative about sports. The intersection of this that we're seeing now, it just makes me so happy, because I always knew that the values and the kind of like the core of what you're doing in both anime and then like honing your craft and playing sports, like the overlap is so there. It's if the Venn diagram of those is just a circle. Oop. But I think that it's just been awesome, and I hope that you've enjoyed it as well, and I hope that people see that and see that these two worlds colliding makes perfect sense. So, you know, if you haven't watched any Olympics or you're not a big sports head, try it out. Ask me for recommendations for stuff, because I think getting into it can, you know, make life so much fun. And tell me about it. I want to know, you know, what sports do you play? What sports do you watch? What do you like? And what sports anime do you like? Because I'm always looking for new ones. So that's pretty much it. Have a great week. Watch the rest of the Olympics if you can, if it's not over by the time that you're watching this, and you know, go watch some soccer this fall, and you'll see some great anime celebrations. And go watch the Gymnastics Samurai. It's so good. All right, love you all. Get home safe.